Welcome. Welcome to the 8th lecture of this series and second lecture of grammar, second practice lecture of grammar. As you can see, this practice session would be directed towards word and phrase replacement. Now, a word and phrase replacement question, I have been getting requests of, doing word and phrase replacement question in the way of mother rule application that we do our normal error spotting and error correction questions, also to do the phrase replacement and the word replacement question. So, if you look at it, is word and phrase replacement question anything else than error correction? No, they are just as another extension of error correction questions. So what we need to do is that to focus on that part of the or that area of the sentence which has been underlined or made bold, and go through the options, check the options, match the options, and see which one fits in as a most appropriate alternative for that part of the paragraph or for that part of the sentence, right? So we will just go through some questions of word and phrase replacements that have come in the earlier exams in the previous year's papers. So what would be the agenda and the methodology? The same as it has been for the last 7 lectures of this particular series, and that would be: first, we will be acclimatizing ourselves. The purpose is to acclimatizing ourselves with the actual questions and practice those questions. Now, we will attempt a test, and how would we do so? We'll attempt a test on actual question from based on the previous year's papers, which the test you will be taking in a time-bound manner. I'll be giving you the time that is necessary to take that test, or on that slide. If, let's say, for example, there are 3 questions on that slide, I'll be giving you a time, and that stipulated time is what you would give to do those 3 questions or 2 questions that are there on that particular slide. The timer would be the time rectangle would be at the right hand corner, top right hand corner of the slide. So you need to keep that in mind, that you should not be going beyond the time that I have suggested, or not going beyond the time that I have suggested by a huge margin. Yes, you can go beyond that time by 10 or 15%, but not more than that. Okay, right? Then we discuss the solution, where you score yourself and you come to know how much you could have performed, or if these questions came in your test, how much you would have scored, right? And what is your capability after going through the solution? You would also be able to understand what are the kind of careless mistakes you do. That would also give you a recorder of sorts, that these are the kind of mistakes that I normally do. So in the exam, I'm going to take care of this. So what are these practice sessions? These practice sessions is showing a mirror to you when you go through and attempt these questions, the kind of mistakes you're prone to. There are a lot of times I see in the comment section, sir, there were careless mistakes and therefore I scored 5 out of 10. So that realization that I do in fill in the blanks this kind of careless mistakes, I do in grammar this kind of careless mistakes, that realization is what is going to help you in the upcoming exam that you would be taking. So that's the purpose of these classes. Apart from practicing the questions and going through previous year question, one of the main purposes of these classes had been to give you, to show you what you are good at, what you are not so good at, where you do some silly mistakes, where you do conceptual mistake. So these are the things that you come to know about yourself when you attend these sessions. All right, so we have been doing these sessions for the last 2-3 weeks, and 1.5-2 weeks, and we have gone through RCs, parajumbles, grammar, fill in the blanks, all types of questions that have come in IBPS PO and clerical paper for the past 1 or 2 years, right? So that has been the purpose. Before the prelim of IBPS PO, this would be the last English session before the IBPS PO prelim. So hope you go through this session, and in the comment section post your score and ask anything about the English section of IBPS PO if you have any doubts, any queries related to it in the comment section of this. Okay, so let's start with the test then. Chalo, we'll start with the test then. The first 5 questions, first read the instruction. I'm not giving, take extra time for reading the instruction and then take that 1 minute to do the 2 question on the slide. Question number 1 to 5 has the same instructions, The first 2 question is in this slide and the next 3 question would be in the next slide. So take 15 seconds to read the instructions and then give 1 minute to do the questions. Your time starts now. Done? Now, I'm going to move on to the next set of 3 questions. They are here. Take 1 minute 30 seconds, pause the lecture for 1 minute 30 seconds and then resume the lecture. Done? Very good. Now we move on to question number 6 to 10. The last 5 questions were, yes, phrase replacement questions, which is nothing but another form or application of error correction, as I already told you. This question number 6 to 10 has a different set of instruction. Read the instruction and give 30 seconds to do these questions. So 15 seconds to read the instruction and 30 seconds to do these questions. Done? Chalo. In the next slide, you have 1 minute, 2 questions. Pause the lecture for 1 minute. Done? Very good. The last 2 questions on your screen now and 1 minute to do them. Done? Time up. Let's now see the solution and you would simultaneously also score yourself. So now is the solution and the score time. So the first phrase replacement question. Now, why did I say that phrase replacement is nothing but an extension of error correction question? You see, error spotting and error correction question, I can extend it to make questions of different types. But at the heart, at the core of it, there would be error spotting and error correction question. Just like phrase replacement is nothing but error correction question. How is it? You see, this is the underlined phrase. So the underlined phrase has to be replaced by the given option, or we'll have to see whether the original sentence with the underlined phrase is already correct one. So as we see that there are 2 phrases underlined in each sentences. So we need to check these 2 sentences on the basis of their grammatical correctness, on the basis of their fittingness with respect to the grammar of the grammatical construct of the sentence, right? So how did we do our grammar questions, error spotting, error correction? Yes, through mother rule application. Now, how is mother rule going to be applied here? Let me show you. These are the 2 parts which has been underlined in this particular sentence, right? So, what we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to check out whether these phrases are correctly fitting here or these needs to be changed. And if it needs to be changed, is there any option that is helping it to be changed, right? So let's say, for example, if you feel that this original sentence is not correct with respect to these phrases here, and the E option is no correction required, then we are sure of one thing, that one of these options has to be correct. You see, the 5th option is not none of the above. The 5th option is no correction required. Now there is a difference between the two. If it had been, let's say, none of the above, then what would be the scenario? The scenario would have been then that maybe this particular sentence with the particular phrases are wrong, and also the options that are given are also not fitting, right? So that possibility was there. But in the questions that we got in IBPS PO last year, there the 5th option was no correction required. Now no correction required means either these two are correct or one of these options are correct, right? Now let's move on and read the sentence. We will read the sentence once. Farmers' plight being reflected from the fact that share of agriculture, which used to be 25% of GDP in 1990, is dipping nearly 15% now. Now, here there is a lack of verb. Being is not a verb in itself. You can say is being, you can say has been, but only being is not a verb that you can use out there. So when you look at this, you know for sure that there is a lack of verb here. So this original one is not correct, you know that. Now we will move on to the options. So this is out of question. There is a plight of farmers from the fact that share of agriculture, which used to be 25% of GDP, now has been dipping nearly 50%. There is a plight of farmers, does not fit in. Still, I'll keep it. If I get a better one, I'll move on with it. Plight of farmers is reflected. Now, plight is the subject here, so is subject verb agreement, perfectly fine. From the fact that share of agriculture has dipped to, so this is in present and this is in present perfect, so perfectly fine, has dipped to 15% now. So this seems perfect and this is better than A. Just like error correction, see, B is better than A, more appropriate. So this is eliminated. Now the C and D option. It is the plight of farmers reflecting from the fact that share of agriculture is dipped into. Is it pakora that has to be dipped into sauce? Dipped into is used for when we dip something literally into it. So this is eliminated. Now to avoid the plight of farmers, how is it contextually relevant? To avoid the plight of farmers, the fact that share of agriculture has dipped to, it is contextually, thematically irrelevant. So A eliminated, C eliminated, D eliminated, E eliminated. So what is left is B, and that is the answer. It was the first question. Therefore, I took more time to arrive to the solution so that you understand the process by which you do it. As a matter of fact, you could have marked when you got B that this is perfectly fitting tense wise, subject verb agreement wise, and you need to just go in there. Acha, what is mother rule? Why is mother rule important here? Now, mother rule is important here from the perspective that this is the noun, subject on the noun, and there is the verb, right? And so this whole is the verb, and this is another verb. Now, what you need to check is, from the mother rule, that what you need to only check is subject or noun or with the subject and the verbs, two verbs, and nothing else. You do not need to check because the underlying part is only referring to these parts of speech. So if the underlying parts is only referring to these parts of speech, why do we need to move forward and check anything else? We need to limit our searches to this angle. So in that respect, it is easier than error spotting, because in error spotting we tend to or we have to check everything because we do not know where the error is from. Here we specifically know where the error is from. We just need to correct it, just like error correction question, na? Just like error correction question. Chalo. So question number 1, B, correct it, whatever you have marked. Chalo. Question number 2 now. There is a dearth of employment opportunities outside rural areas. We shall provide. Now there is a mismatch here. There is a lack of conjunction for sure, because these are two sentences which talk about what is this? This part is problem. This part is problem, dearth of employment opportunity. This part is solution. Now to link the problem and the solution, you need a conjunction, and the conjunction is missing in the original sentence. So therefore the original sentence is not fit, that's for sure. Now we move on to the next parts. There is dearth of, same thing, A is eliminated, no conjunction, there has to be conjunction. So there is a conjunction here, but, right. So the possibility of getting of employment opportunity is itself grammatically wrong. The possibility of getting of employment, okay, it's grammatically, even if it is grammatically, we can make it right, but it's not grammatically good. It's not wrong, and it's not grammatically good. Pardon my earlier part. It's not grammatically wrong per se. In some cases, you can make it grammatically right, but it's not grammatically fitting in here. Okay, but still you can keep it the possibility of getting of employment opportunities outside rural areas, but we should provide gainful employment to the rural population at their doorstep. Why but? There should be something like therefore. There should be something like therefore, because because there is dearth means lack. Because there is lack of employment. Acha. Also, the meaning also changes here. The possibility of getting of employment opportunities outside rural areas is what? More or less. We do not know this. So B is not giving me anything concrete. We do not know whether the possibility is more or less. And then we say but. No, but would be fitting only if the possibility is more, right? So therefore this is eliminated. To increase of employment. Now this is grammatically wrong. If I put to increase of, now to increase of employment opportunities, wrong. So therefore this is eliminated. Since now you know that the original is wrong, therefore D has to be the answer, but still you can check. Since, now since is a conjunction, it is acting as a conjunction out here. Since there is dearth of employment opportunities outside the rural areas, we shall provide, we need to provide, in the place of we shall provide, we need to provide gainful employment to the rural population at their doorstep, right? So this D is the answer. Guys, this underline, I suppose there was this underline has to be till here. There is a dearth of, then only it would be correct. If in the original question the underline was not till here and therefore you eliminated this one, then mark it correct, and you are sure that this was correct other ways round, then also you mark it correct. Okay, because you see the underline, when I gave it, there had been a typo and the underline shifted here rather than here, it shifted here. Okay, so that's a simple typo. The underline is from here till here. There is a dearth of, and there is a dearth of is to be replaced with since there is dearth of. Okay, right? So D is the answer. Clear? Question number 3. Despite the claims of Make in India, India does not yet figure is okay. This part is okay. Among the top 10 exporters of manufactured goods. This is perfectly all right. So, if I were you, I would not go beyond, because if there is something which is already correct, you do not change it. But then if you have some doubt, you go through this. You go through this and you see that none of them fits. India is not yet among top 10 exporters of manufacturing of goods, irrelevant. Has not figured among top 10 exporters of imported goods. How can you have exported and imported goods? And again, exporters of manufacturing goods. Okay, so these are eliminated anyways. So the answer here would be no correction required. The original one is good enough. Question number 4. Sage Vyasa's Brahma Sutra is a Vedanta text of meaningful sutras that has summed up the philosophical viewpoints expressing Upanishad. Now, if I put expressing here, it means that they summed up the philosophical viewpoints. And this has expressed Upanishad. Now, that's not what it means. So, expressing is wrong out here. See, Upanishad different, Brahma Sutra different. So, what do we want to say is that those viewpoints which has been expressed in Upanishad, they have been summed up in the Sage Vyasa's Brahma Sutra. So, this essentially, this difference makes this one and something which is wrong. But let's say you couldn't understand that, but still you can go through the options. That sums up. Brahma Sutra is a Vedanta text of meaningful sutras that sums up. Now, please understand, this is this has to be in present, because whatever has been given in a text, it is for always. It is for, what has been written in Gita or Bible or Quran or, Brahma Sutra or Upanishad, that is for always, that is for eternity, that has been written and done with. So that was there earlier also, that is there now also, and that will be there in future also. So if you remember the 10th lecture of mine in my verb lecture, you'd remember that, what did I say? These are some things that are to be referred to in simple present. So that sums up, is perfectly fine here. The philosophical viewpoints expressed in the Upanishads, that's also perfectly fine here. And normally in before Upanishads, before some religious texts like that, we use a the. So A seems perfectly fine. Describing the philosophical viewpoints, now describing the philosophical viewpoints which is expressed of wrong, express of Upanishads is wrong. For defining the philosophical viewpoints, expressing again the same. For defining the philosophical viewpoints, expressing Upanishad, expressing itself is wrong in there. In summing up the philosophical viewpoints expressed in the Upanishad, first of all, in summing, you needed a up. In summing up, there is no up here. In summing the philosophical is wrong. Okay, so to B, C, D wrong, therefore only A can be the answer. Clear? Chalo. Question number 5. When the Pandavas entered Virata, Yudhishthir hid their weapons in a tree, which had been told not to give the weapons to anyone while to Yudhishthir or Arjuna. Now we know for sure that this place is wrong in the original sentence. So what they are saying is that the weapon should not be, they told the tree that the weapon should not be given to anyone except Yudhishthir or Arjuna, or some similar word like that. So other than Yudhishthir or Arjuna, you should not give the weapon to anyone else, right? So you need a word like except or other than here. So in the second blank, except, but, without makes no sense, after makes no sense, and no correction required is also eliminated. Now I'll read it. So only A and C is left. Now I'll read it. When the Pandavas entered Virata, Yudhishthir has already hidden. It cannot be has already hidden, na? Because this is in past. We are talking about an event that has happened in past, and this event has happened before that event. So it has to be past perfect or something, or at the most in simple past. So has already hidden, eliminated. So the only option left is had hidden. So C is the option. You all know about this story, right? Pandavas, when they went to Virata for their 1 year Agyadvas, they had to hide their identities for 1 year. 13 years they had to be in Vanvas and 1 year in Agyadvas. So when they were in this Agyadvas in Virata, they took different roles. So Yudhishthir took the role of the the chess player, the person who gave company to the king and played chess with the king, whereas Bhim as the cook, and Draupadi became the maid to the queen, and Arjuna became the dance masteress or dance mistress to the princess. So these were the roles that they normally took. So when Duryodhan got a idea that the Pandavas had hidden there, he came in to attack Virata. And then Arjun was there, and Arjun went to this tree, and because the tree had been told that only Yudhishthir and Arjun can take the weapons, the tree opened up and gave the Gandiv and the bows, the bow Gandiv and the arrows to Arjun, and he went in and fought with the god of Sena. So that was the story, that was the lineup of the story behind this, right? So those were the phrase replacement questions, all 5. Now we move on to the next 5 questions, and these 5 questions are word replacement questions. This is nothing but, if you can say, these are also questions of closed test or fill in the blanks, you can say yes, they are. But because there is a grammatical angle to it, we chose to discuss them in the grammar lecture. So let's look at this. Indian telecom sector has witnessed a paranoid shift, crossing the billion user mark. Now they are talking about something positive. So paranoid is a negative word. It cannot come in here, right? So first would be change. Here I'll go by one. Paranoid. What is there? Paradigm. Yes, paradigm is something. It's a great change. It's a change that is worthy of mentioning. Crossing the billion user mark is worthy of mentioning. And so 1 5 would be there. So your option can be this option A, B is eliminated, option C, or none of the above, and D is also eliminated. Now, and rolling out new technologies, you know, it's perfectly fine. Rolling out new technologies, just 4 years ago it faced multiple challenges, perfectly fine. Falling revenues and increasing debt. Now these were negative, these were negative. Raking triumph is positive. These negative cannot have positive out here. So what is the option here? Havoc. Now havoc is something that can replace. So 4 8. So 1 5 4 8, A is the answer. Clear? Clear this is? So 1 5 4 8, this becomes the answer. So we'll go to question number 7 and 8 now. The government launched Tarang Sanchar portal to correct mislead around electromagnetic emissions. So mislead. So this is definitely wrong. Mislead is a verb. I need a noun out here. So misconception is here. Definitely 1 5 would be changed. So 4 8 is eliminated. Option A, option B is eliminated. Option C, D and E is left. So around electromagnetic emissions, okay, that's perfectly fine. It allows people to check emission consensus status. So emission consensus status seems odd. What is the option? Emission compliance status. So this is separately perfectly fine. So D can be the answer. This is eliminated, but still we'll move on to the last one. Giving information about any site, perfectly fine. So therefore D is the answer here. Therefore, D is the answer here, right? These are very easy. This could have been done within 20 seconds. So, you know, if you had taken a little more time in the last 5 questions, 35, 40 seconds, 10, 15% more, these questions should have been done within 10, 15% less time. Now, next question number 8. India has told messaging platform WhatsApp to get serious about hawking the purveyors of fake news. Now, you know, hawking is serious about hawking the purveyors. What is the option here? The option here is tracking the. So between hawking and tracking makes more sense, right? Tracking makes more sense. So option C and D are there. Obviously, none of the above would always be there. And variance numerous, variance makes no sense. And vicious numerous, the adjective is vicious, so vicious makes perfect sense. So 2 6 is there, so this is also eliminated. Now I'll have to check out whether 3 7 and 4 8 4 8 can be. See, 3 7 has to be there, 4 8 has to be checked, but still we'll check both of them. In the meeting with one of its top hosts, what is hosts in company? Honkos is the right word. Honchos or honkos, as you can say in any ways. It means the top management guys in the company. So that would be there. So 3 7. The law minister stressed that over. Stressed, yes. Stressed is perfectly fine. Guessed is not fine. So 1 5 2 6 3 7. D is the answer here. So question number 7 and 8, D. Question number 9. Preserving changing social structure, raising disposable incomes. Raising means, you know, it should be rising. There is nothing called raising disposable incomes when it is being done. Industrial growth and infrastructure. Also, if you look at this, these are all gerunds, right? These are all gerunds. Gerunds are nothing but noun form. And preserving here, preserving what? Until you say preserving what, this is not a gerund. This becomes a verb or a continuous verb or a participle at the most. So this is not parallel. So the law of parallelism does not hold. So there will have to be a noun. So what is it replaced with? Urbanization. Urbanization is definitely something which will be replaced here. So 1 5 would be there, 4 8 eliminated, 2 6 eliminated. Now raising is also eliminated. It's eliminated because raising has to be made with rising, because you're doing it, preserving, doing it, changing, doing it. So rising, preserving, happening, changing, happening, rising, it has to be an activity that is happening, or rather than raising is something which is active. These are all passive: preserving, changing, rising, industrial growth and infrastructure expansion. So, and then when I say raising the at that point it does not remain anyways. What do you say? Gerund at all. Then it becomes a continuous verb. So 2 6 would also be there. Let's see 3 7 coupled with easy availability of housing loans. Yes, this is correct. Caused with, no. Estimated, which accounts for 75% of the estimated 8.5 billion, 8.2 billion estimated. This is perfectly fine. Estimated 8.2 billion. Estimation of should have been there. Estimation by itself, no. So this is also fine. So 1526 C is the answer. 10th question. It is important to measure the outstanding risk of a company and find the best outstanding risk of the company. Outdated risk, there is nothing called outdated risk. So outstanding risk will have to do with outstanding risk. So 1 5 would not be there. So this is eliminated. Then the solution to hedge, and risk is to be hedged. Risk is not wedged. So this is also eliminated. So 2 6 is also eliminated. This is also eliminated. Now, had locked in major. Now the first cannot be had, it has to be having. That's how you use modifier or participle. Having locked in a major portion. So 3 7 is definitely true. So, and then 4 8 compete pricing, competitive pricing, significant margin boost to achieve competitive pricing. To compete pricing doesn't make sense. So 3 7 and 4 8 perfectly fine. C is the answer here. Clear? 10th, C is the answer. So those were the questions. So what is your score here? How did you score? Say 9 to 10 is a very good score here. So if you have scored 9 to 10, that's a very good score. Go on with with high spirits. Even with 7 to 8, it's a good score. Go on with high spirits and crack the exam. If it has been a 5 to 6, that means that you have done some careless mistake, because in these kind of questions, there are so many hints of solving the questions within the options that you shouldn't be doing wrong. This is not direct vocab questions that you need to know the exact words out there. There's so many hints of grammar, of vocab inside the options, that you should be doing these questions correctly. And the same with less than 5, right? So believe in yourself. There's only 2 to 3 days, mostly because the exam or the test is within the next 3-4 days for most of you. So believe in yourself. Even if today's score is not good, believe in yourself that you could have scored most. And if you have understood after my giving you solution, that means that you have the capability of scoring in here. If you have worked hard, no need to worry. Just enjoy the exam. The more you enjoy the inside the exam, the better you score. Remember that, right? A heavy mind, a burdened mind can never score in a competitive exam. Remember that, and you would just crack the exam like anything, right? So that would be all. Thank you very much. All the best for your upcoming exam.